Hi everyone, I'm joined today by my new friend Brendan Larcombe, who's in Cairns. Hey Brendan, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Good. I'm really happy and excited to talk with you today to share a little bit about who you are and what you do to help inspire young men in your community. And I've entitled this interview Rebel to Role Model, but we'll go into that a bit more in detail. And I'm going to embarrass you a little bit first because I want to say some nice stuff about you. So I hope you've got your makeup on.
All right.
So I think meeting you has been one of the highlights of my year so far. So thank you for that. And why I feel like that is this year I've been a bit, feeling a bit jaded about superficialness of things, inauthenticity of people and influences and so on and so forth. So when you meet genuinely helpful, humble, hardworking people who are doing a lot of good to help others, I feel genuinely inspired. So I want to say thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Thank you. So we met in June in Mackay at the Indigenous Marathon Foundation National Championships. And you'd traveled to Mackay with, I think, 10 boys from AFL House in Cairns. That's right.
Four.
Four that came with you, and then four that came separately, right? Yeah. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about you, about your job, and about what you do up in Cairns, please.
My life now is a single father with 3 kids. I work at AFL Cape York House, Boys House, which is a boarding facility for young Indigenous men to come and do their high school in Cairns here. So they come down from community all the way up through the Torres Strait over to NT, and they live and go to school. So they're pretty much here most of the year. So they do spend a lot of time here. We do a lot there at the house for the boys. A lot of little things that people wouldn't know about. Little wins, little losses. Pretty much we are sort of like mentors, but we pretty much do whatever they need from us to get them through schooling.
Mm-hmm.
Some staff go a bit above and beyond the role,
Mm-hmm.
to teach them life skills, I think.
Yes.
Because you can sort of just sit there and babysit,
Mm-hmm.
and do nothing really, or you can have yarns with them and have conversations with them that not many people do.
Mm.
The uncomfortable conversations, or the conversations that men don't really have with each other.
Yeah.
And I think to create change, we need to have them conversations.
Yes.
When
we met in Mackay, Robert Di Castella obviously flew more than 100 people from around Australia to Mackay as part of the Indigenous Marathon Foundation National Championships. And on the first evening, we had a welcome evening, and I was standing at the back of the room, and this young black boy was standing next to me, and he looked at me and he said, "Where are you from?" And I said, "I'm from Townsville." And I said, "Where are you from?" He said, "I'm from Bamaga." And his face just exploded with joy. And it was so beautiful. We had this really sweet moment. And then obviously that was the first time I'd met him. And then I got to talk to him quite a bit over the weekend, talked to quite a few of the boys that came with you, and, just really to share in some of that stuff that you spoke about too, because I traveled to Mackay with 4 young people from Townsville. They are working, so they're in professional capacities, but they also admit to having challenges in their life. And so it was good to be able to spend some time in that role model capacity, but also in that life skills mentoring capacity, which I'm assuming you're spending a lot of your days and life at the moment, would you say?
Yeah. I'll go from work and I come home to similar sort of situation with my boys.
Yeah, so you're a single dad of 3 boys, 14, 13 and 9. Tell me a bit about that.
Yeah, it's a challenge. It never gets easy. Someone said to me a couple of years ago, it's just different types of hard.
Mm-hmm.
It'll never get easy
Yeah.
because of, well, I think it's because of that, because we care, that, and it's that emotional connection. It's, yeah, I just want them to have more than I did, or I had enough, I think, but I just didn't have anyone having the conversations
Yeah.
that I needed to have,
Mm-hmm.
and sort of believing in myself that I can be more than what I was seeing around me at the time.
Yes.
Yeah, the boys, I've had the boys for nearly 3 years now, full time.
Mm-hmm.
I left rehab and pretty much I got the boys out of, they were under child safety,
Mm-hmm.
in foster care,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, jumped through the hoops that I had to prove I was a responsible parent, and I did that as quick as possible because I didn't want them in foster care. It was something I would never want any kids to be in, but again, that emotional connection to my kids, I had to get them out of there as quick as possible. Again, it's been a hard road trying to concentrate on my recovery from drug addiction and alcohol abuse, and father and mentor 3 kids at the same time. It's definitely a huge challenge.
Mm.
And that's where running came in as a relief valve, I would call it, to escape from life, reassess, come back. You're happy after a run, as everyone knows.
Yeah.
The endorphins and that it creates, and yeah, the kids send me off on runs sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
so they can see when Dad's getting a bit stressed, and they're like, "I'll just go for a run, Dad."
Yes.
And
Well,
I'm
that's
like,
nice. So
yeah.
tell me a bit about your youth and, you know, what went wrong for you and what went right for you.
I, like I said earlier, I like to look at the bigger picture, and I see people, I've seen and met people out there through my life that have had it a lot worse than I have.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I had a bed to sleep on. I got fed every night.
Mm-hmm.
I got sent to school
Mm-hmm.
with lunch every day.
Mm-hmm.
So the things that went right were those things, because that's instilled in me.
Mm-hmm.
Cook dinner for your kids every night.
Mm-hmm.
You need to send your kids to school. There was domestic violence early in my childhood, which I witnessed a lot of, and I think that's where my problems started.
Mm-hmm.
And sort of grew up one of 5 kids and eventually one of 7. So big family. I would say maybe not enough attention as I needed. Just schooling and having yarns about problems I was having. I couldn't do that. Just didn't talk about it, and just thought that's the way life sort of was. And then I went up through into school looking for that connection or belonging, and found that pretty quickly through drug use. It started at a few beers and marijuana, or yandi as we like to call it, and a lot of those boys I hung around with were in a similar position to what I was in. Even though we didn't speak about it, we knew. We could sort of relate to each other in ways. We didn't talk about it, but we had each other.
Yeah.
And that we grew up like that up into our teenage years, and in that, on the Gold Coast where I grew up, there's a lot of drugs and there's a lot of violence, a lot of gangs, and sort of in that lifestyle, things just progressed pretty quickly downhill.
You mentioned that you spent some time in prison. How long was that?
I did 3 months the first time and 3 months the second time, so I didn't do that long. It was earlier on, and I was sort of stealing cars and stealing property from people and driving. So like,
how old were you then?
19. And it's like sort of that circle of, like the circle of people I hang around with, we were trying to be like the gangsters we've seen on TV over in America. So we formed a gang. We started to sell drugs. We started to fight other gangs, or we wanted to be known as the toughest group in the town. And everyone else did too. So it was a recipe for disaster, sort of.
Yes.
But yeah, just I think it really started to hit home when we started having our own children. For me, I knew what I was doing was wrong, but the pull for the drug was so strong, especially when I got onto speed and ecstasy and things like that, and later on ice came into the scene, and that just destroyed everybody. But I was thinking about it the other day, and I actually, some of the things that I had to witness, I needed to be drunk or stoned or high to be able to sit in that without doing anything or feeling anything, because like there were some terrible things, things I'm not proud of. Even though at times it wasn't me that did it, I sat back and I didn't do anything about it. I didn't do anything.
So somewhere inside you had a conscience that was telling you that you were on the right path.
Yeah, it was screaming.
And what was the turning point then?
There was a lot of turning points in my life. That when I actually really decided to make that change, it was for my mother. She was under a lot of stress watching what I was doing. Often told me she's waiting for phone calls to tell her that I'm dead, or I'm in prison, or I'm in hospital, like, because that's what she was getting happening. And so yeah, I wanted to make her feel all right, make her think I was all right, just to take the stress off mum. So I went into rehab, and and it was, and even though I didn't know it at the time, I learned a lot there. And I only lasted 6 weeks out of a 12-week program the first time. A cousin of mine passed away on the Gold Coast, and I couldn't. It was a cousin I was really close to, so I think I lasted 2 days, and I just walked out the gate, got on the plane, and went back to the Gold Coast for his funeral, and relapsed for a couple of weeks. Went back to rehab again because that 6 weeks I was sober, and I got to feel something I never felt before.
What was that?
Just clarity. Like I was normal. Yeah. Not normal, but I was, just a different life that I never felt before.
And how old were the children then?
They would have been around 10, 10, 9 and 8, or 10, 9, 6. They were still living with their mother at the time, and I wasn't really having all that much contact with them because of my drug and alcohol problem. I would prefer not to be around them like I was. So it was a double-edged sword. People would say, "Why don't you go see your kids?" And I said, "I don't want them to see me like this. I would prefer they don't see me like I was." But when I would get in that 6 weeks, the first thing I wanted to do was see my kids. And because I wasn't like I was.
Yes.
So I spent a lot of time in that every weekend I would apply for a weekend visit to go and see the boys. And after a while they let me, but so I went back in twice. I went 3 times all up into rehab. I went the second time because I didn't finish the first time, but it was still fun. And I went on a 2-year bender after that. After the second rehab, a pretty full-on bender where there was a suicide attempt in there. I was homeless for about 12 months, full-blown ice addict. I was injecting. Most of it's a blur.
Was that like a steady decline or a rapid decline? What was the catalyst?
It was pretty rapid that time. Like that was when I sort of give up on myself. Really gave up, and I disassociated. I was completely alone. My family had disowned me at that stage. So there was nowhere to run when things crumbled, and so I ended up homeless. And I'll just wake up, go straight to the bottle shop, scull a couple of drinks, and then go to the dealer to get my ice. And then it was just the same old process over and over, week after week. And that went on for 2 years. And I was actually, where I was staying at the time wasn't far from my kids' house. So there was always that pull for the boys, because they were all I had. The only good thing in my life was them 3 boys. There was days that I actually sat and could see them playing in their yard, but they couldn't see me. So I'd be sitting there sit there with a 6-pack and watch the boys play on their trampoline at their mum's place from 100 metres away, and they didn't even know I was there. So I think that's, and then I'd walk away from that and go and sit where I was sleeping, and I'm crying, and it was it was a hard time. And I just woke up one morning and I was like, sorry.
Take your time. Thank you for sharing that. I know it's really personal. But it's interesting, isn't it, that you had the pull to be there, but you weren't sure how to be there because you weren't comfortable sitting in your emotions either.
Nah, I didn't know how to. And I woke up one morning and I had like a half a bottle of wine. I'd try and always have something there as soon as I woke up, just to get that instant numb. And I woke up and I'm looking at the sun's shining on the bottle, and I just looked up and I don't know. Yeah, I can't really explain what it was, but I just, all I could think of was those 6 weeks in that first rehab, and how good that felt to feel. And I just got up and I thought, I want to live. I don't want to die. I can't do this anymore. I walked to that rehab. It's probably a 2-hour walk. It felt like 5 minutes. It's like I floated there. I was at the gate, walked in, the lady there, Sharon, knew me from the two rehabs I'd already done. And I just broke down, and she could see that I was in a bad way, and she said, we don't normally do this, but I'm going to get you in the next few days. What are you going to do differently? She said. I said, everything. I'll do whatever it takes, because this is it. I can't do it anymore. And that's exactly what I did. I went away for a few days. I didn't use, but I drank. Came in. I told them I was sober, but I was half drunk when I walked in there with all my gear, which wasn't much. I think I had 2 Coles bags, few clothes, and just like nothing really, and no teeth, skinny as, just looked like the living dead. Yes.
So your teeth had fallen out?
Yeah, I lost my teeth when I was 17 in a fight, and I got crowns put in, and then they'd get punched out, and then I got false teeth and they'd get punched out, or I'd lose them drunk, or yeah, I've lost a lot of false teeth over the years, but without them, I was really self-conscious or insecure. Didn't smile, didn't talk. I had my head down all the time. The first 6 weeks of that rehab was difficult for me because I was happy, but I couldn't smile. And because I'd made a decision that third attempt that this was it. I was going to do whatever it took. Like, that old life was gone. And people noticed. A lot of the other residents were struggling in their recoveries. They would ask me what I was doing that they weren't, and I said I wake up and I run. Start my day with a run. I finish it with a run. I'm in the gym. I'm doing the courses. I'm listening. I'm trying. Whatever the support workers would mention to me, I would do it.
And had anyone mentioned running to you before you started that on your own?
There was one support worker in there that he just gave me a list of things. He wasn't a runner, but running was on the list of like coping strategies. And so I went out. I think that was like a week, the first week of the rehab. And like I said, whatever, I tried everything on that list.
What was some of the other things?
Reading, journaling, meditation, running, AA, like the Alcohol Anonymous groups, sort of things like that. And I tried them all. And I think all of them had a place in recovery.
Yes.
Because I can't run all the time.
Yes. Yes.
I can start my day running and it sets me on the right path, or I can finish it. And by the end of it, I would run at the end of the day because it was better to finish on a real good high. Yes. But yeah, the AA meetings helped.
How many years ago was that now? Sorry.
This October, it'll be October the 9th, it'll be 4 years.
And so how many marathons have you done in the last 4 years?
7.
Wow. 7 marathons in 4 years.
Yeah, 7 marathons in 2 years.
In 2 years. And how many half marathons?
I've done about 4, I think.
So we had the joy of passing each other during the Gold Coast Marathon. And I told you recently when I saw you face to face that as I passed you, because you passed me, you were about an hour quicker than me, probably faster. So I was running past the 12K mark and you were coming back this way. And I had said, hey, brother, and we connected hands and I felt your spirit reverberate through my body. And I was just running, going, yay. It was really fun.
No, I remember that.
You remember?
Yeah.
And then you came down to Townsville recently and we both did the half marathon. So we got to high five about 3 times during the race, which was good for me as well. Because I had to struggle a bit because I've had this lingering cough, which is not leaving my body too quickly.
Yeah.
So that's really cool. So you're inspiring other people with your running. I sent you this message yesterday. So this is Rob D. Costella. He's just launched a new video about a project that he's launched for the 28th of August. And you're in that picture behind him. And I sent you this and it says, when I'm running, I'm most free. Nothing else compares. If nothing else goes right during the day, I know during my run, I'm in full control of the outcome and I'm going to feel free. That's what running gives me, freedom.
Yeah.
And if you've started to impart that to the boys at AFL House too, haven't you?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. That's a big part of what when I yarn to the boys. It's not about how fast you run or how fit you are. It's, for me, running was strictly mental health.
Mm-hmm.
And especially with them boys coming from remote communities into a city, everything's different here. The language, English is like their sixth language.
Mm-hmm.
Then they've got to go to school and listen to English speaking teachers teaching them things that they got no idea about.
Yes.
Coming back to the house has got structure.
Yes.
So they got to get used to that structure. They got to do tutoring again because of that, because they can't, the sort of the barrier with the communication. They're finding it hard, or some of the boys are fine, but some of the boys are finding it hard to learn what they need to learn. So they have to do tutoring after school, and they're being watched all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
So
and that's how I see it.
Mm.
Yeah. And because I've been in those sort of situations through rehabs and prison, where you're being watched all the time, that can get heavy.
Yeah, and I guess it's very mentally and emotionally draining for them too, you know, that have mental fatigue at the end of every day and then they feel emotionally drained because they're away from their family.
Yeah, like the list goes on.
Yeah.
And so I've sort of told them, and I talk openly about my past with them, just so they know that if things do go wrong, you can change.
Yeah.
That's
What's
not
the
the end.
reaction that they generally give you when you tell them you're homeless and you're a drug addict and in prison? What do they say?
They can't sort of, it was hard for them to believe it at first, because of the way I talk and hold myself now, and with running and all, and just all the things that I do in life now, that doesn't fit that story.
Yes.
So I did a little information session not long ago with them about the effects of drugs and alcohol, and through my experiences, and I had pictures up of me back in the day.
Oh wow.
And yeah, that's when it hit home. That's when they started to realize, oh, he's not just saying this, he lived it.
Yes.
And the pictures are on the wall where they could just relate to straight away. So I was watching their faces and they're like, wow, like, and some of them come up after and said, I can't believe that was you. Like, it doesn't look like you.
Yes.
And I said, nah, and I said, there you go. Like, you don't have to be that person.
Yes. Do you recognize yourself though when you're sharing those pictures? Do you recognize that person?
I do. I don't remember. It's hard to sit in how I felt, but at that in the past.
Yeah.
When I look at them pictures, it takes me straight back.
Okay.
Smells take me straight back. You won't ever see me sitting in a pub because the smell is I don't feel like I need to drink, but I start remembering things I want to forget.
Yes.
So
I hope you don't mind, but I want to share a personal conversation between the pair of us recently. You wrote something to me which is really pertinent, given that Paul Green took his life obviously recently, and society would look at Paul Green, successful rugby league player, successful coach, successful prominent person, and say, well, he's a strong person. Why did he need to do that? His public persona was one of success and one of strength, etc. And you said to me that I'm not as strong as people think. I don't have it all together. Every day is a battle. And so for those young boys who are looking at you as a pillar of strength or a role model, but you feeling that you're struggling to hold things together, what do you say to them, or what do you say to yourself?
I've actually mentioned that to the boys in that information session, because one of the other uncles actually said, I told him one day, I said, "Oh, look, I'm struggling today. Can you cover my shift?" That was just anxiety. I just couldn't leave the house that day for reasons. But he said, "Oh, you don't look. What do you mean? Like, you've got it all together?" And I said, "Nah, I don't. I just don't go out of my way to tell everyone my personal problems."
Yes.
And it's private, and I actually don't like to go out and talk negative about myself to people. It sort of ruins their day as well.
Yes. Yeah, people don't want to know how you really are, right?
Yeah.
So you just say, "Oh, yeah, I'm fine, thanks. How are you?"
Yeah. So I don't like to put my stress on anybody, but it was good just to let them know. And then I said it in the meeting, in that session with the boys. I said, "You might see me as a strong person looking after my kids and I've got it all together." I said, "It's far from the truth."
Yes.
Some days I'm in the shower, in a cold shower,
Mm-hmm.
for half an hour, wondering, how am I going to do this? Like,
Yes.
how do I keep doing this? What do I do now? Who do I talk to? What can I say? I've got a long way to go. Yeah. And the running is an escape. So it's anywhere from a half an hour to an hour, to my long runs go for 2-3 hours of freedom from the pressure of life. Everybody, I think, is going through that. Nobody's talking about it.
Yeah.
So
well, it's interesting, because we know that it takes a village to raise a child, right?
Yeah.
But it also takes a village to nourish and sustain a healthy adult. And you
definitely.
just mentioned that you're private. You don't want to put your problems on people. You keep things to yourself. So therefore, you're not enabling a village to support you. You're keeping your worries, concerns, feelings to yourself. I think what's not talked about for adults, especially when you've got some challenges with anxiety or depression or whatever, is, and even just, I find as a busy working mum, things become overwhelming. You think, "Oh, I don't feel like doing this today," and it's the case of, like, how do you create a foundation of support which best enables you to be healthy, mentally as well as emotionally and physically too.
Yeah, definitely.
You told me about a conversation you had with Rob Di Castella, where you said to him that you were feeling guilty for spending time running and not spending time with your boys. And what was his advice to you?
He told me that what I was doing was more powerful than words. He said, "You're teaching your kids how to achieve something that means something to you through hard work, dedication, consistency, self-discipline." He said, "The lessons you're teaching without even speaking, it's huge." And he said he watched his old man do the same thing, and it's what helped him to become who he was as as a person and a runner. So, and I do feel guilty sometimes. Not guilty, just is there more I could be doing for the boys to better their lives? But something why I continue to run, I have to run. If I'm not all right, the boys aren't all right.
Correct. Yep.
So, and I tell them that.
Yes.
I do this to make your life better as well. It's not just for me.
Yes.
So, and it's something they did drum into us in rehab right in the beginning is you need to be all right.
Yes.
Like if you're running around doing everything for everybody else.
Yes.
And you're not okay, you're not going to be able to sustain that.
Yes.
So running helps me sustain my life. There's a lot involved.
Yeah, it's dedication and commitment. And I often use the term like mumming and running is not easy because, you know, I'm sleep deprived as it is, but I still get up early to go for my runs.
Yeah.
My girls, I feel now, it took me 6 months, about 4 years ago, to train my family that when I left the house, the walls wouldn't implode, you know. I had to train my family to be okay for the 35 minutes that I would go to do 5 or 6 Ks, you know.
Yeah.
That took about 6 months of training, and then I started to get fitter and started to enjoy running as opposed to dreading it because I was a lot heavier and unfit. And then as I got better at running, I could go away for longer times, and then they got used to it. And now it's the case that they come to me and say, "Oh, Mummy, how long is your race today?" And, you know, they enjoy my medals and they encourage me and they're proud of me. And I think, you know, mine's 4 and my girls are 4 and 8. And so, you know, I'd want to be an inspiration for them through my personal sacrifices as well as my ability to provide food for them. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So you're doing what we were just talking about with Uncle Rob.
Exactly. And it was funny because on the Gold Coast, obviously the race, but I had to get up at 3 a.m. and then I got back at about 2 o'clock in the afternoon by the time, you know, I'd caught up with people and had some lunch and whatever. And everyone had missed me. And it's like, you've been gone all day. And I'm like, I've just run a marathon. Leave me alone.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
It's like, oh, Mum's back now. She can do everything. And I'm like, no, I need to rest.
Yeah, where's dinner?
Yeah, exactly.
And it never ends.
It never ends. Yeah.
It never ends.
And so what's your aim in life for your 3 boys now?
If like I'm having a lot of I'm through in a difficult phase because the 14 and the 13-year-old becoming teenagers. I've always said to people, I'm teaching them a way of life here, and then they go to school and learn the complete opposite.
Yes.
So it's like I'm paddling uphill.
Can you give me a for instance, because that's a really insightful comment.
So be yourself. You don't need to pretend to be something you're not to fit in to the group of them kids at school.
Okay. Yeah.
So when I see them out at school or in public, they're not the same people that are at home here.
Okay.
The people I see at home, that's who they are.
Yeah.
You know, the caring, loving, genuine human beings.
Yes.
That sit up and cuddle and just be yourself.
Yes.
And it's an instant switch. As soon as they step out, they walk differently.
Yes.
They don't even walk the same.
So you think they're modeling inauthentic behaviors that they're learning through peer pressure, social media, or what?
Yeah, all of it mixed into one. I don't even know how to describe it, but even with device use, I think it's a huge problem. I don't have Wi-Fi. My boys don't have an Xbox. The eldest has got a phone, which I'm thinking about taking off him. because I've noticed an instant change. Then they go to school, everyone's got phones, everyone's on Xboxes. The schooling is done on a computer. So now I have to buy a device. They've all got laptops, they're just not allowed to use it when they walk back in the door.
Okay.
So, and some people look at me and go, that's extreme. And I'll say, come and have a look at my kids after they've been on a machine for 3 or 4 hours.
Yeah.
That's extreme.
Yes.
They don't talk or socialise.
Yes.
That, to me, is extreme.
Yes.
Problems later will be extreme.
Yes.
It's so foreign to me. Even growing up, and I know times have changed, but it doesn't make it right.
No, I've been battling a lot with that this year because I'm going to be 47 in a few weeks, and I didn't have a phone until I was 22 and I'd finished uni. We didn't even have an email address, I think, until our last year of uni. And this, whilst I use social media and I use technology, I'm very, very mindful of the fact that I didn't have that growing up, and I didn't have any of my peer group on anxiety medication, or I didn't have any kids in my peer group who, were suicidal, for instance. So I think, as times have progressed, we've normalized things that are not healthy for us.
Yeah.
That's what, says we should do. So, like, fair play to you. I think we have to draw the line somewhere where we say, okay, we can do that at school, but we don't need it all in our free time, or we can do that, at these times. But I think really as parents, we need to set the standard with what we think is okay for our kids. And there are some kids that just can't handle that constant bombardment of stimulation, and not to mention the fact that they don't learn how to actually communicate with people.
Yeah. Like, it's when I watch them, it reminds me of addiction, of my addiction.
Yes.
The way I would when I didn't have my drug of choice.
Yes.
The come down,
yes.
the withdrawals.
Yes.
I just look back and it just frightens the hell out of me.
Yeah. There's a documentary on Netflix called The Social Dilemma. And it refers to all social media companies referred to their customers as users. And in that documentary, they said there's only 2 industries that refer to customers as users. That's the drug industry and social media. It's the same.
Like, it's, So like, that's something that, and I say to the boys, I don't care what the kids at school are doing.
Yes.
They're not my kids.
Yes. So how do you still be the cool dad and say no at the same time?
You can't.
No.
You can't. So their mum's the cool mum, where they go on the weekend and get to play the Xbox. And then they come back to the strict dad who sends them to school every day and wants them. So and I've explained this to the boys, you're going to have 2 options in life. The example I'm teaching you is hard.
Yes.
It's hard to maintain. I'm struggling.
Yes.
To maintain the lifestyle I live.
Yes.
Or you can just sit around and do nothing and sit on a phone.
Yes.
And just get a job where you're just ticking over life, but you're not living.
Yes.
Or you can do what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to pretty much, I want to live my dreams.
Yes.
I want to live and go to work and love my job, and it's not about money. Life to me isn't about money.
Yes.
I want the fairy tale.
And what is your dream? Do you want to share it, or is it too private?
Oh, it's changed over the time.
Yeah.
It's evolving, I would call it.
Yeah.
And it's evolving really quickly. So I've been sober for 3.5 years, and at the start it was to get my kids.
Yes.
It was to get sober first.
Yeah.
To get my kids.
Yeah.
Running wasn't even, like, running marathons wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
So it changed to let's run a marathon. But then it's changed to I'd like to go and run the Great Wall of China marathon, the New York Marathon. I'd like to go to Christchurch Marathon. I'd like to run a sub 3 hour marathon. I'd like to run a 2:30. So these are dreams that people dream about but never try to get.
Yes.
But in my old life, I would never daydream about the life I've got now. Just wouldn't have come into my thoughts. Traveling overseas, never come into my thoughts. So running has started to give me these opportunities, or self-belief that it can happen. And I want the boys to do it too. I don't want the boys to go. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with being a carpenter or a chippy or an electrician or whatever, but I don't want them just to go to work to get money.
Yes.
Like I want them to go to work and create.
Yeah, that's really interesting, because last year I was guest speaker at a graduation for a school in Charters Towers. And I said to the kids, like when I was growing up, I didn't want to be something. I wanted to do stuff, so all my life has been about going out and doing stuff. And I have been fortunate to travel all over the world and to do a lot of really cool stuff. And I think the concept of doing stuff as opposed to being something is more powerful, because then you invite more opportunities,
Yeah.
And I think just encouraging the boys to want to do stuff, because you can still be something, but if you just be that thing, you don't get to do a lot of other stuff. Do you know what I mean? And so it's almost like you can go and chase your profession or be your, do the job you want to do, be that carpenter or be that house builder, but still aspire to do stuff, to have hobbies and to do other stuff, as opposed to just your profession, which is ultimately ends up destroying your soul if you're not enjoying it anyway, right?
That's right. Yeah. There was something I heard. I listen to like podcasts and motivational videos. Older fellas like Les Brown, Steve Harvey, Denzel Washington, and there was something in the video that I'll never forget, and it was about finding your purpose. So no one's ever talked to me about what my purpose was growing up. What are we here for? What were we born for? What were we created for? And I do believe that everybody is here for something.
Yes.
And it's finding what that is.
Yes.
And no, but you can't find what that is if you're working 10-hour days in a factory.
Yes.
Well, no, you can, but it's so much harder.
You have to honor it.
So, and he says a trumpet on a bench looks nice, but it's not doing it's not what its purpose is.
Yes.
The purpose of a trumpet is to be played.
Yeah.
So if it's sitting up as an ornament on a bench, it's not living its purpose.
Yes.
So I feel like I was a painter by trade before I give up the drugs and alcohol, and I painted for a year, and I heard that video, and I went the next day and give my 2 weeks notice.
Right.
Because painting wasn't my purpose.
No.
I would just walk in there and just hate what I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't enjoy it. It was just sucking the life out of me.
Mm-hmm.
And still go home, do my runs, look after my kids. I sit down at 9 o'clock at night and just for 5 minutes and just go, what is this?
Yes.
And then fall asleep because I'm completely exhausted.
Yeah.
I have to get up and do it again.
Yes.
Which we have to do to get to the dream.
Yes.
But having that in your mind that this isn't forever, this is a step to get to there. But you need to know what there is.
Yes.
So I don't want the boys to follow the crowd and do what I did. as a young fella. I want them to figure out what they love to do, and see if they can get paid for it one day.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
And have what are the things that they say to you that make you feel good about the impact that you're having on them?
My eldest boy loves football, rugby league.
Mm-hmm.
I've told him, because he's mentioned to me, you're obsessed with running, and I said I am. Yeah, I said that's I think you have to be.
Yes.
To get what you want, you gotta be obsessed with it.
To run a 2-hour 30 marathon, you got to be pretty obsessed.
You gotta know everything there is to know, and do everything that you need to do to get to be in the position to do that, which is it takes obsession.
Yeah.
He started to do that with his football. So he's telling me he's going to buy me a house, he's going to buy me a car. When he starts playing for the Broncos, he's going to be the best fullback that's ever played. And I'm like, yeah, go for it.
Awesome.
I believe you can do that.
Yeah.
So he carries that football everywhere. He actually sleeps with it. It's at the end of his bed.
Yeah.
If he's not at school, he's kicking the footy. If he's not kicking it with me, he's kicking it with himself.
Yeah.
He reads the game. He studies the game. He's creating plays in a notebook, like rugby league plays on the field. He's got a dream team. He watches every NRL game, and each week I seen him out cross. He's got a list of names, players that play NRL, and every Monday afternoon he's out the back crossing out one or two names. I said, "What are you doing there, boy?" And he said, "Oh, they've lost their position." And I said, "What do you mean?" And he said, "Old mate's playing better."
Okay.
Old mate played better this weekend, so he can fill that position better than that guy.
Okay.
So he's cutting players and replacing them. And I didn't let him know, but that just made my heart just glow.
Yeah, that's awesome. So why the Broncos and not the Cowboys?
Because I go for the Broncos.
Okay.
But I'm from the Gold Coast, so
Yes.
back in the day there was no Titans, it was the Broncos.
Yeah, I remember very well.
Yeah, he follows my lead with the Bronx.
Well, maybe we bring him down to Townsville and give him a taste of the Cowboys in the new stadium and see if you can't convert him.
Well, it's up to him.
Yeah. It's been wonderful to chat with you. Thank you so much for your time. Is there anything else you'd like to share with us? Because I was curious, actually, who's inspiring you now?
Oh, I love Elliot Kipchoge. Yeah, just watching his videos. I watch his videos all the time, and just a humble, kind, and caring person who's trained himself to be the best he can be. And that's what my aim is to see how fast I can train my body to run 42 Ks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And have you looked into, because you tell me you're 39, have you looked into any stats about the fastest men in their 40s? What times? Yeah, tell me, what are they?
There's not times. I actually typed in what's the oldest male to run in the Olympics, and I think he's 43.
Yes, in the marathon.
So I've got 4 years.
Yeah. So we need to find you some sponsors, I think.
Well, it's I won't say. In my head, I'm saying it's not realistic. Yes. But I wouldn't tell the kids that. No. Because then I'm telling them that you can't get your dreams if if I'm.
Yeah, but wasn't the
Yeah.
Aussie guy that came 7th in the marathon in Birmingham? He works full time, doesn't he?
Yeah. So when you read things like, when I read things like that, I'm like, yeah, this is, it's not just me out there. Like, I'm not at his level or anywhere near it, but our lives are similar.
Yes.
To find time to train and energy,
Yes.
it's like, as you know, and raise kids by yourself. It's a battle.
Yeah.
But once I make a decision on something, that's it.
Yeah.
I just find a way.
Yeah.
Something doesn't work, I change it until make it work.
Well, I have heard something, and I don't know if it's true or not. You can tell me. People with addictive tendencies, which obviously you had for drugs and alcohol, often find other things to be addicted to. So would you say you're addicted to running?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. If I have a day off each week and it's hard that day,
Yeah.
like, I don't know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
Fully addicted. I think I've been injured once, and I went for like 2 weeks without running, and yeah, that was probably the worst
Yeah.
mental state I've been in my whole recovery.
Yeah.
Um,
And do you still go to AA meetings weekly, or what contact do you have now with the rehab people?
I still drop into the rehab. I actually, every 6 months, I go in there and have a yarn with the residents about my story, and hopefully they can take something out of that to use in their recovery.
Yeah.
Because the rates are so low for recovery, especially from ice.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's 3%, and not many make it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I still go in there and I have yarns with the support staff. I have yarns with the residents. One day I'd like to work in that area a bit more, even if it's just voluntary, because it's something when I sit with the mob and yarn, that's when I feel real that's like running for me.
Yes.
When I'm sitting with addicts, having real conversations about recovery.
Yes.
I'm free.
Yes.
Because they're my people.
Mm-hmm.
They understand me. I can just look at them and start a sentence and they know. I can see they know, or they finish my sentence for me. So yeah, it's something I'll sort of get more involved in, maybe when the kids leave. Like, I've got all these ideas and things, but I have to be patient with them.
Yeah.
Because the kids are a huge time front. Like, I can't fit anything else in.
No, parenting is a full-time job for one child, and when you've got 3 children, it's 3 full-time jobs.
Yeah, and it's I always worry about the boys, what's going to happen to them, and I'm starting to try and not let go, but put it in the hands of life.
Yes.
Because I can't take responsibility for what happens to them.
No, but the challenge with the word worry is that it's quite a debilitating word. Like, it can make you anxious when you worry. So I want to invite you to change that word from worry to wonder. And you can say, I wonder what the boys will do with their life, because wonder is a far more powerful word for purpose-driven thinking than worrying. Do you know what I mean? So you could wake up each day thinking, I wonder what's going to happen today, as opposed to thinking, I'm worrying about what's going to happen today.
All right, I'm going to use that.
So when I drop my kids off at school and they've usually screamed at me for 3 hours and I feel like I want to tear my hair out, I drive out the school gate and I stop at the first set of traffic lights and I say to myself, I wonder what's going to happen today. And then literally I feel everything left behind me at those lights. When it goes green, I can drive off with a new mindset for the day, you know?
Oh, awesome. Yeah.
I leave all that anxiety at that red traffic light.
Yeah, yeah. And they're things I've got to definitely. I procrastinate a lot. There's definitely a lot more I could be doing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's easy just to sit down and zone out.
Yeah.
I'll watch a lot of running videos, but I don't need to. There's other things I could be doing.
Yeah.
So I've got to get up and go to that next level. But I am enjoying it. There is them hard times, but the good moments are worth it, I reckon.
Yeah, I'm really excited about seeing you in Melbourne for our next marathon. Are you excited about Melbourne?
I am. The running to me now, I'm going to reset myself next year because it's become so time driven and goal driven. I've forgotten what I started for.
Yeah.
Finishing the Gold Coast, I was so disappointed.
Mm-hmm.
And because I know I'm capable of more.
Yeah.
But my body's just not ready yet.
Yeah.
So patience is another big word.
Yes.
And just enjoying what I started for.
Yeah.
And that was just that freedom. So
I think the challenge is after you've done them, you start to put expectations on yourself,
yeah.
When you have a setback, you don't achieve what you think you're capable of. It's very easy to get disappointed. And then you go into the next one, pulling more pressure on yourself and more pressure on yourself, And I have to remind myself that I'm a 46-year-old mother of 2 small kids, and I've had 2 cesarean sections. And when other women are running past me this way and I'm trying to guess their age, I've seen all these young women sprinting past me. I'm going, Chrissy, just stay in your lane. You're not, they're on a different journey to you. They don't know, So I think it's just really about honoring your own personal journey when you're running, and like just forgetting about all the expectations, because I know that I performed so well in Mackay because I had no expectations. I'd never done an official half marathon before. And then I went into the Gold Coast with a little bit of expectation and a bit of anxiety because I'd never done a full marathon before. Now I know I'm capable of doing both. But it's like almost thinking to myself, okay, you're doing Melbourne for fun. You're not going there to break any records. You're going there to connect with people that you care about. You're going there to prove to yourself that you're capable of running 2 marathons in 1 year, in 6 months. And just go there and enjoy the process, and then I just take the pressure away from myself, because the only person that's going to suffer is me.
Yeah.
And
Definitely.
no one will really care what time I do at the end of the day. They'll just be happy for me to come home with a medal and a t-shirt.
Yeah, they're not going to remember the time 5 minutes later.
No.
And yeah, definitely, 100%.
But if you've done 7, Melbourne will be your 8th marathon in 2 years.
It will, yeah.
That's a lot, mate.
I think I'm overdoing it, but like I said, I'll scale back next year. Might just do 1 a year.
Yeah.
And I enjoy the process and the training more than the race.
Yeah.
Like just them little things. It's so interesting how you can train the body.
Yeah. Yes,
like
it's true.
With your build sessions, your speed. So now when I'm running with purpose. I know exactly what each run does.
Yeah.
And I've got to be accountable.
Yeah.
Because if I'm not pushing 80% in a speed session, I'm not evolving. The body's not going to adapt as good as it could.
Yeah.
So when I finish a run, I want to be if it's a speed session, I want to be buggered.
Yeah.
And I know I've done everything I can do to become a better runner.
Yeah.
And then the next day is a recovery and it's nice and slow. That's when I do my thinking.
Yeah.
And I don't need to, it's not so full on.
Yeah.
It's more of a relaxing run, but it has a purpose.
Yeah.
The recovery run is for recovery.
Yeah.
To absorb that hard one yesterday.
Yeah.
And it just feels good, like I'm transforming.
Yeah.
Transforming
Well,
my
and
body.
it's true, and your goals have evolved, but your purpose will continue to evolve. So it's never a stagnant thing, you know. And I think that's what's beautiful now. We live longer. I was just chatting with my friend before, and she said that, you know, when she did her first marathon in 2012, she was running next to an 80-year-old man, and he was encouraging her the whole way. And I thought, isn't that just beautiful, you know?
Oh, it's awesome.
It's awesome. So I think that you're going to achieve whatever purpose you decide you want. I'm sure that you're going to get a sponsor to pay for your first international marathon.
Well, we'll see. You've said it now, so it's the
I've
universe.
said, well, we'll do some joint manifesting of that. So that'll be good. And thanks so much. I can't wait to see you and your lovely sister in Melbourne. We're going to have some big high fives on the route, and we're going to be finishing in the MCG. It'll be epic.
Oh, can't wait.
Good. Thanks for joining me today. I'm really proud of you. I know there's a lot of people that are really proud of you. And I think just remember, on your hard days, you're not alone, okay?
Yeah. Thanks, Chrissy.
All right. Thank you so much, Brendan. See you soon.
See ya.